Teresa. Okay. My name is Peter, recovered alcoholic, and grateful to be alive and sober and part of a sacred place called Alcoholics Anonymous. Before I get going, first, congratulations for keeping the Zoom doors open. Um, I like to think I'm doing good, but the reality is I'm getting older because the years are flying by way too fast. It feels like you started this a week ago. And I remember the Zoom, the COVID debacle, and the Zoom thing started. And like a lot of us, it'd be like a week or two, and we back to business again. And here we are. And uh, great job to all the trusted servants, and thank you so much for thinking of me to have me back here to celebrate with you with someone I truly admire. I like to speak for about 5 minutes and give it to Ralph, to be honest with you. But I'm honored to be here. The other thing, before we get going here, just looking at a lot of the faces on here, and you got 15 pages happening tonight. Um, when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm not exaggerating nor am I embellishing. I didn't have any friends, and that's the truth. My brothers were barely speaking to me. My dad basically was done with me, and I knew the liquor store owner on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and some guy I used to cop pills off of. That was my existence. It was about a 3 block area. And it's a bunch of years later, and I have some folks out here that I'm real close to, and a lot of friends. Um, Getting to travel and getting in on Zoom and just making meetings. With some of these folks I broke bread with, it just blows my mind what God has done, and it just makes me think of something I pray for is that the freedom I seek today is not for me, but from me. And the further away I get from me, the lighter I'm traveling. So I'm very, very grateful. June 23rd, 1988 is when God separated me from alcohol. And I'm very grateful for that gift. I have a home group. It's called Alcoholics and God in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which I'm now a resident of. I just moved here from Boca around Christmas time. It's pretty cool up here. And I have a sponsor, Bob Bazans, and I'm grateful for the men I sponsor, although they give me a lot more gray hair and wrinkles than I care to have. But it's really just a joy for me to be here and see some familiar faces. Um, my AA birthday, God willing, is a few months from now, and it's just like clockwork. This little thing goes off inside of me where you start to reflect a little bit on the journey. And on Facebook, they have this little thing where it has pictures of the Lower East Side in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s. And for some reason, I keep capturing pictures of the late 70s and early 80s, where I was basically a permanent resident of this very sordid spot of town. And I look at them, and some of it is rough from back then. You had the crack scene, you had the junkies, you had the winos, you had the crime. And I look at some of those pictures and I realize which is the abandoned building I was sleeping in. And I cannot believe I was rolling through those streets at all hours of the night, very desperate and willing to do anything to keep it going. And I got to tell you, man, it's almost 36 years and it seems like another guy. It's almost another life. Like what had me possessed? What owned me? And you point to alcoholism, but there was a lot more going on in that. And what AA and this loving God has allowed me is get me free of me. When we talk about the death of self for successful living, to have faith and courage and have the courage to have faith today. So many things have shifted and my point of view on life has changed. Now, I will tell you, I do none of this perfect. I don't want to ever sound that way. You're looking at someone who's a flawed character, broken. And I had this aha moment years ago where there was great liberation and coming to terms with how broken and flawed I am. It's the going around thing. It's how God designed it. And that's how he wants it, which means I need to have a greater need for this God. And I can share that kind of brokenness with other folks because a lot of times that's what we identify with, our brokenness, this shared brokenness. And it is part of my story. It's just not my life anymore. And one of the other things I'm very grateful for about being a sober member in Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't have to live my story anymore. It's what happened, but I get to live the life God has in front of me. I'll be 65 in July. I don't know how the heck I got there. Um, but the reality is, and I don't want to be grim. There's more road behind me than in front of me. But what I have found, thanks to AA, is there's a lot more God in front of me than behind me, and I embrace that. And so, in June of '88, the only thing that would happen to me is if you mention God, what I would go way beyond bristle with antagonism. I would have venom. I was never an atheist, but I just knew God was not paying attention to my life. And if he was after me. It just seemed nothing seemed to work out. I wouldn't look at the drinking and the other things I was doing. It's just nothing's working out. And at the very end, as a lot of you guys know, I was literally homeless and one of those bums on the street. I shouldn't even call them bums. They're just not fortunate to find another way. I don't even like that word anymore. I was just one of those folks who panhandled and stole and slept in a hallway. You had to kind of pry the door open to get in and or sneak in through the back, and that was my existence. I blame God for all of it. I'm a cradle Catholic, and I can't tell you before I got sober the last time I prayed, maybe when my mom passed away at 14 years old, maybe. There were some foxhole prayers, but they weren't authentic, they were fake. And I landed in Alcoholics Anonymous by way of making a plea to God. And if something happens, and I've heard enough stories over the years, if something happens to us where we're in a bottom, and that's that bottom that brings us to an AA. It's almost like Richard Ross says, we fall up. There's no need to hit that kind of bottom anymore. But in that place, which is a necessary ingredient, where desperation screams a little louder than the ego for a moment, there's an opening. It almost feels like I can't even get another breath. There's none to take. And for me, it was not only that, it was coupled with if I get a drink in me, which I really, really need to get right now, I'm going to die. And if I don't, I'm going to die. I don't know either one of those would have happened, but that was the feeling. At that point, there's no bargaining chips. There's nothing to hold on to. There's no rungs in the ladder. It's a free fall into the hands of a living God. And that's a point where it took me a long time to understand this. We get surrendered. I didn't have it in me to surrender. Albeit I said that for years, but there's new truths as we awaken. The truth is true until I discover a new truth. And I totally see that and understand it. I didn't have the ability to make a sincere surrender to one that would rocket me into AA or actually treatment, then Alcoholics Anonymous. That was just the hands of a loving God, merciful God. I'm convinced of God's love. I'm convinced of God's power. What I've become convinced of the last couple of years, quite frankly, is God's mercy. In fact, for me, and I speak only for myself here, I think the thing that holds Alcoholics Anonymous together, beyond God's love and his power, is God's mercy. Because if we screw this up, and we try to screw it up a lot, uh, where else are we going to go? And I think it's God's mercy that keeps us together, chopping wood and carrying water, and allows us to fellowship as we do and experience the Spirit in the fellowship besides the fellowship of the Spirit. It's miraculous and it doesn't make any sense, like most miracles do not make sense. They defy logic. And for me, that's Alcoholics Anonymous and quite frankly, my life. And my prayer life has evolved. My life of meditation has evolved. What I'm There's a few things I'm real mindful about is the narratives that the head gives me. Because when I get involved in the narratives in the mind's a four-letter word, that becomes paramount over everything. I become really important. My stuff becomes really important. It occupies a lot of time in my day. And what begins to happen little by slowly, I start to isolate, even though I'm in front of you, I start to isolate. I draw back because I'm consumed with me and no one seems to understand. That isolation brings about suffering, which brings about more isolation, which brings about more suffering, and my all my aliveness that God gives me is deadened. And then I become prey to temptations of the mind, and I start to forfeit all the invitations that God is sending me. I can't hear them. I've gone spiritually deaf. I'm hearing a lot of things on social media. We're bombarded with nonsense. I hearing a lot of things on the news. I'm hearing a lot of scuttlebutt, and I'm hearing all of that, but I can no longer hear the most important voice, and that's God's voice. I've gone spiritually deaf. When that gets really tight, I'm alcoholic, and alcoholism doesn't care how long I'm sober. My alcoholism doesn't come in a bottle of whiskey. I will pick up a drink, and the book says to drink is to die. I've learned over the years from every one of my sponsors, and every once in a while it gets live again. It becomes really important. The spirit of acceptance and forgiveness. I am in a place, I spoke to my sponsor today, we were talking about this. I cannot I can't deal with having angst towards someone. I've had it, or people, or a group. When COVID came out, man, oh man, that I have a lot about a lot of people blaming people for COVID. It doesn't exist. And I wasn't paying attention to the reality of it. That's when I'm wrapped up in me. I can't afford that kind of plaque on my soul. I don't like having tension in me when I think of someone or a group of people. And it's about acceptance and forgiveness. And it's not only 11th step. If I think about it, the 11th step talks about honor, wake, and return. Like, that's just to cover my butt. It's the bare minimum. I had a grant sponsor would say, that's covering your butt. What about communing with God? How much time do you spend in communing with God in solitude? I don't care how busy the day is, it takes 10 minutes to get quiet with God and just turn in order to go out. And so I've been working for a while with different people because I don't like having tension, different groups, especially the way the world's upside down right now, on acceptance and forgiveness. And I learned something else. Most of the things I learned comes from screwing it up or doing it wrong and making mistakes. When I'm praying, who's praying? If I'm praying, I know this sounds a little odd. Of course, I'm sitting there praying, but what I mean by who's praying, am I praying? Am I trying to tell God exactly what He needs to do in order to be me to be comfortable? Even when I'm praying for forgiveness, am I praying to forgive that son of a gun and hope he stops what he's doing so I can feel relief? That's not praying for forgiveness. That's totally selfish and self-centered. It has to come to me and through me. So what I do often is start with a spirit of surrender, laying everything at my God's feet. Everything. And sometimes the only thing I can lay at his feet is my brokenness and my sinfulness and all my screw ups. This is what I've accomplished. I'm laying it at your feet. You rewire me, you remold me, and I need to be open to that. Praying and meditation, I can meditate for hours. I can sit in meditation in a monastery for days and nothing changes when I get out. Am I willing to be completely changed and uprooted? Like malleable clay, where God's going to shape stuff and pull stuff and chop stuff off. Am I willing to do that? That's in any length. Am I willing to be made really uncomfortable? That's part of the any lens of pruning this tree. And sometimes I don't want to go there. Sometimes I don't want to go into deep sacred silence because something might get revealed about me that I don't want to look at. It's all necessary. I'm in a place. It's a while now, and again I don't do this perfect. I can't pretend. I can't come here and give you a talk and pretend everything's just wonderful and I'm in a living in utopia if I'm not. This is too important to me. I can't get to a point and start lying and pretending I'm just some spiritual guru guy and I'm character assassinating or cutting people off on the highway. I can't live like that. So I'm very grateful to my incredible wife, where we get to flush things out together in the morning, and when we retire at night. She calls it as Pete sees it in the morning. So tell me, how does Pete see it today? And I tell her how I'm going to fix the world as soon as they elect me governor of Florida. I'll change it, and I as Pete sees it. But we flush stuff out, and we'll talk about what comes to us in a meditation. Marion shared with me recently about something that God put on our heart, and so we grow together, God willing, in the same direction. So it's it's not only my beliefs that come into question, but how I live my beliefs, the ones that I do have. If I stop taking a stand for what I believe in, if I stop talking about what I believe in, I will stop believing in it if I'm not careful. So for me, I can't get to a meeting and not talk about God because it's not popular in that meeting. I must. I have to. Because that is, to me, what Alcoholics Anonymous really embodies is God. We're under his tutelage here, his watch. And so I need to give great thanks to that power called God, and nothing less than that great fact. It wasn't like that when I first came in here. But I'm in a place now, I'm willing to exchange things that don't work for things that do work. Whether I'm hearing it from someone, or sharing an inventory with someone, or getting direction from a sponsor. It's really important that I pay attention, that God has closed the ears to the mind. Thank you, God, and open up the ears to the soul. Sometimes when we're sitting in the meeting, do you ever do this? Somebody says something and we give that AA nod. You know that thing we do? We do this thing. That's not the mind understanding something. The mind understands that sometimes I'm going to steal that and use it the next talk. They'll think I'm profound. That's what the mind does. When we do this, the soul is acknowledging what it always knew. That's why it's almost a visceral thing we do. It's like that makes sense, not to the head, but to the soul. It knew it all along. It's another aha. It's another awakening. Mm. My practice today is a lot different than when I first came into Alcoholics Anonymous. But I'll tell you, I was always trying. When I got here in 1988, I saw you guys. I've said this from a million podiums. Something in here, not here. This is no good. As an author, Eckhart Tolle says, you don't even need your mind ever. Uh, but something in here said, we need to be on this team. And so I'm a Catholic. I was brought up a Catholic. I'm a cradle Catholic, and I get into AA, and I barely know the Lord's Prayer. I learned the Serenity Prayer in here. I wasn't sure how to pray, and if I got on my knees, bad things were going to happen to me. God was going to punish me. That's where I was at. I had no spiritual books. I knew nothing about 24-hour day. Nothing. I'm a clean eraser board. Looking back on it now, God designed it perfectly for me because I came in here knowing nothing, which was good. There was very little I had to unlearn, even with 7 treatment centers. I wasn't a guy who had time in AA and blew up. I never got this. And so I began this journey out of desperation to pray like you prayed. And maybe I can have an experience, and moreover was I won't get drunk today. What I do now, when I got stuff going on, when there's a lot of traffic in the head, I don't know, I no longer try to figure stuff out. And this came to me recently. My first reaction is go pray. That's huge growth for a guy like me. So I fell asleep fairly early last night, and I woke up. I thought it was morning, and it was 10 to 1, and my wife was sound asleep, and I'm up, and I'm not having a good time. I'm looking at my mortality at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm looking at my financial condition at 1 o'clock. And that look where you're staring at the ceiling. And I'm looking at everything like, oh my gods. And I don't know where this is coming from. So I got up And like a good Italian, I watched the end of Godfather Part Three. I figured that would make me spiritual. It didn't. It made me more worse. And what I did was, all kidding aside, I came right in this room. I have my altar over here, and I'm bending knees, and I said, Father, I don't know where this is coming from. You do, but I'm tight, and I'm looking at the glass half full. I need mercy, whatever that looks like. Whatever you need me to do, getting up off these knees, starting right now at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to do. And then I read some of my Thomas Merton, and I went back to bed about an hour or two later. And I put my head on the pillow, and I'm just having conversation with God. I'm just talking to the carpenter. That's all I'm doing. I have a crucifix. I'm a Catholic in my bedroom, and I'm just looking at it and I'm praying and I'm talking and I'm praying. And I fell asleep. Now, I woke up this morning very exhausted because I didn't sleep that good last night, but I felt connected again. And my experience told me that, and little by slowly, as the day progresses, I'm going to be okay. And I'm happy to report to you tonight, whatever was on me last night is long gone. My reaction is to go to God first. And so, what I do on awakening now is literally on awakening while I'm in bed, I thank God for another day. And if you're over 50, you're going to start doing that for sure in the morning. That's another day. Way to go. And I thank God for another day. I make some prayers lying in bed, and then I come in here and I do a bunch of prayers, and I have found my prayers cannot command the spirit to do anything. They're more centering for me, so he I can hear him tell me what to do next. Sometimes I don't know what to do. Sometimes it comes later in the day. And when I'm done with praying, my prayers, and it's a while now, I pray for a lot of people. I pray for the suffering in the world because there's a lot of suffering going on. There's a lot of suffering right in this country going on. And I don't want to get into breaking tradition. There's a lot of stuff going on. I pray for folks. I pray for sick and suffering in other rooms. I have some friends, including a sister-in-law who's sick right now and needs healing prayers, not only for her, but for the people who are treating her, the doctors and the nurses and all of that. And I spend a lot of time praying for people. And God's going to do what God's going to do. And then I go into sacred silence for meditation. That's anywhere from 10 minutes to God knows when before I get up off my knees. And I make some coffee. Literally, what I do, I make some coffee and I get out my spiritual books and I do some reading in the morning. It just keeps me centered. I get soul food this way. And then I go on social media and it's all washed away in 5 minutes because someone annoys me on social media and I got to go do it all over again. But I have the fellowship of the spirit thing, and I post some things like Ali does every day. It's important to me, and that we know where we're going to be and what we're doing and who's doing what. I kind of, it's exciting to see some of those things, and I do my to-do list, and I usually listen to some folks. And I'm up really early. I have the ability to do that. I'm up at 4 or 5 in the morning, so by 7 I did a day's work, and then I start my day. I bring my wife coffee at 7:30 and we start our day together. And hopefully, as I go through the day, I'm not hurting people. I will tell you, um, I make a lot of mistakes. My intent is to never hurt someone. I can't live with myself to go out and hurt someone. And I don't care what religion you are, what political party you belong to, what color you are. At the end of the day, we all bleed the same color. I can't live like that anymore. I just, God has put this in front of me. And when I hear character assassinating and I hear prejudice stuff and I hear hate, it turns my stomach. It gets me sick. It makes me pray more, which is a good thing for those folks. So although I can talk, quite frankly, ad infinitum about mechanics in the 11th step, there's a lot of people in this room who can do that. I have found it's really about living it. What does it look like live? I don't want to forfeit the invitations that God sends me. I've also found, depending where I am, sometimes we're going to feel like I, f- I feel like I'm standing alone when I'm talking about God or this big book or our 11th step in some circles. but I need to be standing on that firing line and even draw fire like most infantry men do. They draw fire because I got God's armor on me to keep me protected. And when I'm done doing that, He'll tell me, "Well done." It's my responsibility to talk about our book, to talk about this glorious sacred fellowship where we see lives get reborn and resurrected. Where I get to meet people like Jimmy and Maribeth and Ralph and Allie and Bob and a whole bunch of other men out here and some women that I know. It makes no sense. But as long as the soul is operating, I'm open, I'm receptive, and love is grounding. I have found that it is grounding. Unconditional love is grounding. When I'm in that place, this soul doesn't have time for nonsense. I'll jump in there. I'm guilty of it, but I can't stay in there long. It's too painful. Sometimes my wife will see it written all over me. She's, "What's up?" And I have to read something to share something with her. That's a good thing. I can't be hide behind the cloak of a podium anymore. I can't do that. I've also become a member of my church now. It's a while. That came out of steps 4 and 5, and quite frankly, doing a 9 step years ago. And I'm grateful to be back in there and a part of my church. And I got home. Where was I? I was somewhere this week, and I don't remember. I was somewhere, and I was in St. Louis. And by the way, this is the weirdest thing. You're on the road a bunch, and it's happened to me. I wake up in a hotel room, and I don't know where I am. And I look around. I don't know where I am. Oh, it's a hotel. What city? And what am I doing here? And I hope this is my wife next to me. It's sometimes you get that, but I forget where the heck I was going. My days start and end with prayer and meditation. Um, as I go through the day, when it says we pause and agitated or when we're doubtful, I've come to find out the reason why I have to pause because I'm agitated and or doubtful is because I'm trying to get my hands on life again and rearrange it. That's why I have agitation and doubt. I'm not in a place of letting God do things. Very often, what looks bad turns out to be good. What I think is good is going to turn out to be bad. I need just to be open and let really God direct me. My mind gets in the way of that every so often, and I go down that rabbit hole. But I have people around me that I can share with. I have a sponsor. I have a wife who's sober almost as long as I am. I have some friends out here, and you can flush things out and get back in the saddle again. This life, I'll close with this, and I'll give it to Ralph, man. Um, this life is fast. Um, I thought my dad was going to be around for a million years, and he's gone. And it happened. He was gone. And it made me take a look at life. It's so precious and yet so fast. I think Scripture says it's a vapor, one breath, and we're gone. I don't want to screw that up. Now, left to my own devices, I will screw it up. But if I lean all the way into God, if I lean on God, I'm less likely to screw things up and I can appreciate things. I get up early, I said in the morning, and one of the things I do, we just moved into this real lovely house. I mean, it's just absolutely wonderful. I have this great backyard. And what I do in the morning, it's so silly. When I was growing up, my grandfather was one of my heroes. He used to be out in the yard at 6 in the morning gardening and planting, and I used to love to go in the yard with him and have my bare foot on the wet grass and hear the birds chirping, and he would show me how to cut and prune, and here I am gonna be 65, and, oh Lord, I'm out in the backyard in the daybreak, and I'm watering and pruning, and the birds are chirping, the squirrels are going wild. I think they smoke crystal meth, some of these squirrels, I'm not sure. Um, and I'm there, and I'm absolutely in paradise. When I'm done with all my stuff in the morning, days break, and I'm out there, and I can't wait for the morning to do all these things. I get to bed at night. I can't wait to wake up and just get the day and start that way as I've explained to you. And I don't have a boat I'm going on, or I don't live in a big, fancy place, and I'm certainly not wealthy, but spiritually speaking, God has blessed me with riches. It's men and women in Alcoholics Anonymous. I love my wife. She's just everything. She's just everything I ever wanted, and we walk this walk together. I got incredible friends, and I've been way overpaid and overblessed. I'll take it. So my I try not to listen to scuttlebutt out there. I really try my best to listen to God, and He'll speak through people sometimes. Sometimes it's a guy I'm sponsoring. As long as I'm living out of the soul, I'm doing okay and traveling light. And alcoholism has a lesser chance of taking a bite out of me. When I'm living in my head, I'm wide open to alcoholism, and I can feel the difference when I'm traveling light, when I'm traveling heavy. I love our 11th step. I love the spiritual books I get to walk with. I have a whole library behind me and on my desk inside. I'm happy to report to you, I've gone into all of them, not for knowledge and information alone, but to seek a greater transformation to be right with God. So I stand ready on the firing line and, okay, God, here I am. I'm in the raw. Where you sending me? What do you need me to do? What do you need me to say? And so I chop wood and carry water. And I'm very grateful. I'm grateful to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm grateful to be out here tonight. I'm grateful to so many of you for putting this meeting on, the trusted servants. Ali, well done, brother. That's all I got, man. Peace.
Wow, my name is Ralph. My name is Ralph White. I am an alcoholic. Uh, Thank you, Ali and Teresa. And I kind of don't want to thank you for putting me behind Mr. M. Peter, thank you, sir. It is always a privilege when I get to share anything with you. Peter is my sobriety brother. We share the same sponsor, um, who's Bob B out of St. Paul, Minnesota. We got a long way to go, short time to get there. I'm gonna jump right in. I'm not gonna thank anybody else. I'm gonna talk about, and happy anniversary. Why do a 11-step workshop? Why do an 11 step? Peter says something at the end of his talk, and he talked about traveling lightly. Matthew M, some time back, he was talking, and he asked somebody about, what's your spiritual condition or how you doing spiritually? And they started giving the AA resume. Oh, I'm sponsoring, I go to this many meetings, I got this home. He said, no, no, no. How are you doing spiritually? Are you heavy or are you light?
Mm.
Are you heavy or are you light? And this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to report to you, I'm going to talk from a place of light. And for anybody that's new to our program, I'd like to welcome you. You may be confused about this 11 steps sought through prayer and meditation to improve a conscious contact with God as we understood him. You know, and where does that start anyway? I think the 11th step at its essence, because you guys, I've been on for a lot of the talks, and a lot of times there's a lot of emphasis on the methods that are talked about in the 11th step prayer meditation, but the intent to improve my conscious contact with God as I understand him. Where does that start? This conscious contact. So way back coming out of the second step, which you guys gently walk me into. I want what you have, the medicine. I suffer from an illness. What's the prescription? Spiritual experience. Don't like that one. Why we got to do that? But you guys make it look easy. You make it look available, and you make it look. And the reason I took the medicine is to beat the alternative. What's going to happen if you don't take the medicine, Ralph? What's going to happen if you don't decide to do this? Come to believe. You're going to be doing the aimless walk. You're going to be back doing what you were doing. So, hmm, hat in hand, with that on the line, I got on my knees and I said, okay, God, do something with your boy. I'd like to get to know you. Those people at the meetings speak very highly of you. My name is Ralph White. I believe you probably know me. I really don't know you, but you come with impeccable references. Peter M. talks highly of you, and I like his walk. Jimmy A. speaks very highly of you, and I like the way he moves. Teresa has good things to say about you, and I really respect her. My granddaddy had things to say about you, but that kind of went over my head. But when Calvin said it, Calvin said he was going in his wife's purse. And then he speaks highly of you. Calvin's like me. I like the way he moves. I think I like to get to know you. And in that third step, I said, okay, God, do something with me. The start of a remarkable relationship, the start of a love story. I don't know that's what it's going to be. I just am in trouble and I really want to get out. And I start doing the thing, the things that you guys talk about, because it's a big thing that's got me stuck. And that thing that's got me stuck is me. We call it bondage of self. Later on, we call it defects of character. In our fourth and fifth step, we call it manifestations. We call it a bunch of stuff, but it's too much me between me and this power. So I start removing. And so 4 and 5, 6 and 7. And then I go see the people in 8 and 9. I'm a new me. I'm a new version. I'm not a cleaned up me. I'm a new me. New friends, I'm a new me. But I'm a new me, but I'm still me. I still fall down. I still do stupid shit. I still make mistakes. I still get sideways with people. Even after I made these amends and I think I'm a brand new me, I don't outgrow human. But I now have begun to know your name. I've been doing some stuff, not theoretical, you guys, but I've made it through a whole bunch of paydays and brought the money home. What? You got to be one of us to understand the significance of that. I've made it through a whole lot of birthdays and been there. I've been present at a lot of Christmases. I've done stuff that I could not consistently do, shown up to work. And my kids look at me like your kids look at you. Ali got 2 little ones now, and they look at us. This business of grace that we've tapped into, that we didn't know anything about, but now we've come to rely on it. We've come to depend on it. We've come to expect it. It used to come visiting unexpectedly, and we'd be surprised. We'd run to the meet, talk about, I had to visit this, look at what this great. Now we see it everywhere. When we go to the preschool Christmas program, we know it. We're sitting in the middle of grace. Teresa, when you talk to Maddox and that, and you realize why I'm the counselor to them, and we know we're in grace. When we're giving that boy or that girl them driving lessons, we know we're sitting in grace. We go to that graduation. What? And so now I know that I didn't do it. And I start calling this power by name. I start calling it by name. I look at Pete and Marion, and there was a time when Pete went to Washington and did not know that lady that's sitting next to him. And they saw each other, and he said, I want to know your name, and I want to get to know you. And how do we do that? Well, at the end of the night, when I do my review, there's something that happens. And we say that a whole lot, this matter of prayer, we're not going to be shy on this matter of prayer. People have been making good use of it. Mama, grandmama, they've been doing it for years. But Ralph, he was blocked from it. But now this matter of prayer, this consistently staying in touch with this grace and reckon and there's a part in our book, and it doesn't speak specifically to 10 and 11, but really it does. So if the alcoholic fails to enlarge, bigger, and perfect better his spiritual life through self-sacrifice and working with others. So this business of enlarging and perfecting, at that point, we talked about through self-sacrifice and working with others. But now we have another way of enlarging and perfecting our spiritual life. We talk about this business of seeking through prayer and meditation. Check this out. It says we can make some definite, we're going to have this matter of prayer. We're not going to be shy about it. We have some definite suggestions we could make. And the rest of the 11th step is talking about the definite suggestions about this matter of prayer. It encompasses the meditation, not separate. The whole deal is this matter. Why are we so concerned with this matter of prayer? It's the love language. How do I get in touch with this power? I talk. Prayer will not always seemingly change things for me, but it seems to change me for things. It seems that it does something. Uh, I say a lot of times there are different things that seem to remap my spiritual DNA. And this business of prayer, I think, does it more than anything else. Where else am I going to now? I've entered, because what I need is not knowledge of the power. Second step is talking about coming to believe, but this is a 12-step program. It's more than just the coming to believe. What I need is relationship with the power. My sponsor, Bob B, often says, Ralph, if you're reading this book for anything other than relationship with this power, you're using it as a management tool, and that's human power. You can't eat the menu. It's a lot of thumpers on here. It's a lot of folk on here, and I know it's a lot of people on here. If it ain't in the book, I don't know why people talking about it. Check this out. Let me put a big neon sign over the next statement I'm getting ready to make. And I ain't ashamed of it. When you get me, you get opinions. I try to minimize them, but you get them, And here's a big neon sign that's saying opinion is getting ready to come. Check this out. Everybody that's here, if it ain't in the book, it ain't, I don't know why what makes you think that God is inside the pages or the spine of are you serious with me right now? The book is not the end point, it's the beginning point. The book is the beginning. It is not the end point. We're talking about spiritual matters. We're talking about ancient matters. We're talking about matters that a drunk in 1937 that put pen to paper, I respected, but he didn't get tossed tablets from Mount Sinai. He didn't get tablets tossed to him like, no. What I love about this book is, oh my God, it's the beginning point, and it's the entryway to the mystery. It's the mystery of why it is that there is a power that is taking in a drunk like me and that does for me. You know what? In the third step and in the seventh step, it feels like I enter a contract, right? I get down, okay, God, if I do this, I'm gonna enter a contract for you. And being all powerful, he's gonna do some stuff for me. I got a new employer, I'm his aide, but he's got some stuff he's gonna do for me. And then the seventh step, when I come out of it, take away I'm gonna ask him to take away the defects of character, stand there. So he's gonna make me useful. And that's the whole deal. We see that throughout all our steps. When we get to the ninth step, we talk about making me maximum service to my, fellows and the guy. So all this is about useful service, all the rest of that. But okay, so he's doing, well, what's in it for God? What's in it for God? People look at it like it's a contractual relationship. I was, I've been talking a lot about this party my girls gave me for my 70th birthday, last September. And I remember standing at the party, you guys, and I was looking across the room at this particular time. And I get struck like this life we live, when you're in your life, there are times when you pinch yourself in the moment and say, wow, how blessed am I, right? And I'm standing there and my daughters are here. My 40-year-old who's giving me grandkids. She's an attorney in this, but I walked her down the aisle. I am most proud of her. I was on the phone with her. She's going through some stuff yesterday, and I'm hurting for her, hurting. And then my youngest daughter, River, who's 29, she's amazing. I got these amazing kids. And my stepson, my son was talking, and I just looked across the room at him, man, and I'm full. When you kids, when they used to say, this hurts me when more than it hurts you, when they were disciplined, that's bullshit. And you don't know. And then you get the joys of parent, at least in my case. And me, for mine, just cause. They don't have to go trumpet it all over the world. They don't have to bow down to me. They don't have to pay me. They don't have to do just because I love them. And me, it's minuscule compared to this power and what he does for me. Because mine is conditional. As much as I'm talking about it right now with you guys, my youngest one especially, when we go into something and we talking and she does what she does, act like she know everything. I'd be like, okay, do it. Okay, the goddamn do it. So, but God don't do that with Ralph. Ralph act like he know everything on his own. So the love language. So when we finish at night, you guys, the definite suggestions that make me that when I get into relationship. And how do I get in a relationship? This never-ending conversation. And for it to be a never-ending conversation for Ralph, I got to come out thee and thou. Then, sometime our life be dealing me, man. It be serving your boy every now and then. And sometimes it feels like it's unfair. Sometimes it seems challenging. Sometimes I get in the foxhole with some sponsees. Navon is on here right now. She been in it in life for a minute, right? And I jump in the hole with her, and every now and then it'd be like, man, God, this is some bullshit. And I think God said, you know what, Ralph, it is, but I got you anyway. I agree. This is but I got you. But I got you. And that's that. I'm not suggesting that for everybody. Some people are like, ooh, this is a blasphemous guy. He's a heathen. I know. Pray for me. We talking about prayer anyway. So I'm gonna give you some definite suggestions on this matter of prayer. Just pray for this guy right here. But that's how it be. So when we finish at night, you guys, all of this is encompassed in that 11th step. So it's give Ralph something to do. I do this review of my day. I did this, I did that, I tripped, and I don't do it that well. I'm not an A student at checking all the boxes. I've done the fundamentals for a long time. I shared this. I was at this men's retreat with Jimmy this past weekend. And so some of this I was sharing, I've done the fundamentals. And Pete, I could remember when fundamental guy, it's like Jordan, who most people call the greatest basketball player. I'm Magic. If I start my team, I'm starting with Magic. But I'm going to give y'all Jordan just so we won't have an argument for sake of this illustration. When Jordan first started out properly, and he went out for his first youth team, and he went up in that gym, and he don't start out soaring and no, we gonna practice dribbling right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, interminably. Then when we start back, we're gonna practice, ladies, I know, bear with me, those of you who ain't out, we're gonna practice two-hand chest pass, just fundamentals. Ain't nothing fancy. And he do that, and he in the 5th grade and the 6th grade. He get to the 8th grade. Now he been dribbling with both hands and he can go behind the back. Now by the time he get to North Carolina, he's doing 360s, he's dunking, he's put his own signature in his own stamp. And I like to think that's me in the spiritual world. I got with the fundamentals, but don't but sometimes folk want to say, and and this spiritual life, you guys, sometimes it didn't look appealing to me at first because I'm not a sheep guy. And it looked like you guys wanted me to be a sheep. You wanted me to sing off the same sheet of music. You wanted me to walk. I'm not a goose stepping guy. I'm not a lockstep guy. I'm not a, I'm from the era 70s, 60s and 70s. I'm an individualistic guy, right? I'm a fruitful. And so this looked like cult. This looked like sheep. This looked like, but that's how it might look early. It feels like they want me to turn in my individuality. What is this? You trying to be terminally unique and conform? And I'm not a conformist. But what happened turns out when you get in the fundamentals, everybody always looks alike. When you go out and just taking grounders and playing baseball, everybody looks alike. But once you get the fundamentals down, Ali, now you put yourself on it. Now you put Ali on it. Now you talk with your own voice and you walk with your own walk. And so the people, and again, Ralph's opinion, I think there's a natural evolution. It's a lot of us come from the same place. And so for a time, people seem like, and then, at least for me, it's an evolution away from being stuck on dogma and literature and more. I'm in my experience, man. And the spiritual experience is vast. It's broad. God don't make hard terms. You know who do make hard terms? Me. People do. That ain't how you do a 4-step. What you doing saying my part? Who was your, people do. God don't make hard terms. Cut out all that share shaming. Let people do what they do. And so this business, so now, and trust me, I'm on to report to you guys, God does not make hard terms. You'd have a different speaker here tonight. It looks like you get these two guys and man, they heavy, they be putting it down, they can share. Some new guy is probably like, I really want what they have, but I can't have it like that. I can't talk like them. I don't remember the pages. And check this out. That ain't the deal. It's available. I'm a guy that always tries to make sure you wear it light. This is it's within your reach. Trust me. I'm a falling down guy. I'm gonna get my hands dirty guy. Yeah, this program, we are surrounded by angels. I talked about this before, and I know Peter knows this because he kind of like the gangster thing. Remember James Cagney? I like my angels with dirty faces. That's who's in Alcoholics Anonymous. Angels with dirty faces. We ain't coming in here angelic playing holier than thou. So at the end of the night, I ask God. So that's my first prayer. That's the first direction I get in the 11th step. First direction I get is at night, do your nightly review. And at the end of the nightly review, I ask God for any corrective measures and I ask Him for forgiveness. Wow. Then when we start our day the next day, you would think I am just talking about this meditation. But on awakening, I now talk to God. Okay, God, clear away my thinking. Make sure it's devoid of self-centered, self-pitying motive. So now I'm inviting God in the morning. Prayer life. I think, and a lot of times we get to talking a lot about the man. No, 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 no. This business of prayer, this business of relationship, this business of talking to this power. And why am I talking to that power? Because now, as a result of this kind of prayer, my thought life has changed. Really, early in Alcoholics Anonymous, it's fashionable. Your best thinking got you here. Don't trust your thinking. Later on, when I get in touch with this power, And it says something when I get to the 10th step, for by now sanity has returned. What? Walking hand in hand with this power, walking on the sunny side of the street, And so now this power, my thought life is going to be better. I come to rely on this inspiration. I do stupid stuff at first. I start thinking, oh, you might be sitting in a meeting and you think that you're lonely. You lonely. You look across the room, you see Teresa. Teresa blink. You think she wink. Oh, I know she want me. And God has put her there for me. And so it's all kind of absurd situations. It says we might pay for this and all kind of, and it says we can easily see why we don't pray for it because Teresa ain't trying the food. I'm praying, please let Teresa's like, please let him please keep him away from me. So we can easily see why we don't pray for our own selfish ends, right? Because we be in collision. We go right back, catapulted back to the third step, right? Because my prayers are colliding with Ali wants the same job I want. He praying for it. I'm praying for it. Okay, God is working in my life. He ain't working in Ali's because Ali didn't get it. What? No, that ain't. So we can easily see why. So now when we finish the meditation, we go back into prayer. God, show me what your will is for me today and give me the power. And then all through the day, especially when I get sideways with somebody. When I get sideways, I hit my pause button and I go into prayer. T always says, when you pause, do something in the pause. And when I get in the pause, it sends me back into the 10th step, right? I'm praying. I go back into the 10th step and I turn on my watcher. Because in the pause, I'm saying, okay, what's got me pissed off? Is this a resentment? Am I being dishonest? Am I getting ready to tell a lie about something? Am I scared? Or am I being selfish about something? And so I'm in the 10 when I look at that. And then I get the opportunity, I get catapulted to 6 and 7, and I get to not try to be the big shot, not try to out talk you, not try all these defects of character of mine, not try to have the last word, not try to cut you down with my sarcasm or my judgment. And so now we see the synchronicity of all of the steps. So when I'm in 11 and I'm sideways like that, so I'm pausing. And in that pause, I'm praying. And so this business of prayer, and so now I'm praying all through the day. And now, and not in a pious way. At least Ralph don't. Some people can. I'm not knocking that, but that doesn't fit. This is why one of the biggest benefits of this deal. That's an unintended deal for me. I didn't know it. I didn't know I'd sing my own song in my own voice. I didn't know I'd find my own law. I didn't know I'd become. You often hear me say, I'm trapped in what I think you think about me, and the reality of that is that's really my narrative. In spite of me, God has done something with me. He's done something with me. And even though that's still the image I have of myself, when I stand back from it and when I get reminded of it, from people to tell me, uh, somehow that's kind of, I know that guy is still in there, but it really don't dominate me. It really don't rule me. I'm really not tripping like that. I really come to bring you guys the good news. And so this business of prayer, this business of having this, and so now coming out of this 11 step practice, why did Ali and Teresa decide the 11th step anyway? I like it because it's toward the end of what it is that we do. And really, when people come in here and talk about this, when people come in here and listen, when people come in here and share about this, what they really get the opportunity to do is see our entire program with legs. You really get to see what a transformed life looks like. The speakers who've come here have had the opportunity to talk about what their life looks like as a result of turning it over to a power, what their life looked like as a result of taking the self-examination, looking at themselves in 4 and 5, the um, searching and fearless, We get the stories about being in the hole. We get the stories of triumph. We get the stories that are all over, and then we get to see, uh, at least for me, Ali, and I want to thank you for this forum and for giving people this platform. I've seen a lot of the people on here, and I've got a lot from the people that are on here, and I can think of nothing better to help you guys celebrate the anniversary, you know, than to talk about the lightness of spirituality. They used to say, wear it like a loose garment, you know. And it could be the other way, but I'm a carrot guy. I'm not a stick guy. I like to come and talk about what God has done with my life. And that don't mean it's perfect, and that don't mean I have not been challenged. My sponsees know I always talk about we don't grade our own paper. But if I were grading my paper in one area, I think I give myself, I don't know if I do an A, but I give myself a passing grade. On page 100, it talks about it. If we persist, and Daniel used to talk about that all the time. That's where I hang my hat, guys. I'm a persister. I'm a persister. I've gone broke on this program, but I persist. Had to get divorced in this program, but I persist. You know, remember crying like a baby when my daughter had to be uprooted from her house. Me and Lisa had to go separate, and she went to her sister's, and I went to stay on Stranger's Fountain. But I persist. Remember when they took my house in front of everybody? I persist. IRS came after me for $80,000. I persist. I'm a guy that when my daughter was born, my first daughter, and I wanted to be a daddy with everything in me, I'm the guy that was at the house. My wife called from the hospital and said, they're going to induce labor or give me a C-section. We need you to get to the hospital right now. But me and Ronnie had took one. I couldn't make it to the hospital because I drink no matter what. My granddaddy died in 1985, and that was my guy. I wanted to make it to the funeral. Me and Ronnie took one. Ronnie's all up in my story. Me and Ronnie took one. And I didn't make it to granddaddy's funeral because I drink no matter what. And I've come in here and I've found grace. I've been surrendered and threw myself and gave myself over to this process. And like I told you, the IRS came after me for 80,000. I don't drink no matter what. I lost a 20-year marriage in front of everybody. I don't drink no matter what. Went broke. 3 years without a deal, without no money. I don't drink no matter what. To our new friends, we are a fellowship of men and women who drink no matter what, who've discovered a power that we don't drink no matter what. What? Wait. What did you say? We are a society of men and women who drink no matter what, who do not drink no matter what. My friend Sharon C. says it, and I'm going to steal it. I have been saved to serve. I am grateful, Ali, that you guys called me out here, to just participate just a minute in this remarkable meeting you guys have had going for the last 4 years. I came out of desperation, you guys. October 11th, 1986. I stepped through the looking glass. Who knew? Who knew I was stepping into a brand new way of life? Who knew? None of us know on our last day that the next day is our first day. Didn't know it. Been catapulted into something that I could not have imagined, you know. And I like to, one of the hallmarks of spiritual experience. And it's why you have guys like me and Peter out here. one of the hallmarks of spiritual experience is you got to tell somebody. You got to tell somebody. And so, Ali, Teresa, Calvin, all the other trusted servants, my hat is off to you for giving us a platform where we get to keep telling somebody the good news. My name is Ralph White. I am an alcoholic.
I just want to first say congratulations to this meeting. And I haven't been here in a minute, but this meeting started during COVID and I was frontline COVID. I was medical assistant and phlebotomist, and they were putting bodies in trucks because they weren't sure what it was. And people weren't wearing masks and fighting against it and coughing on, and you had to beg people to wash their hands and pull up their masks. And I was fully loaded with fear and resentment that whole time. And I could not find God. And then I don't know if someone offered me $100 million, I could not tell you how I got the numbers to this meeting. But I'm so grateful that I did. And Teresa got me through that in sponsorship for a couple years. Lord, y'all, I was working them steps a lot. I was running those inventories a lot.
Thank you, Sherry. Do you
and
have
I'm
a question? Let's get a
I
question.
do have a question, Alice. Yeah, I do. And Ali, thank you. I'm just so grateful you guys are here. Ralph and Peter, I've spoken to you both in the past week, actually. And I appreciate you both so much. And growing up in AA, did you guys have any outside spiritual books that were important to you or really helped you a lot in your recovery or open you up to a bigger God?
Thank you, Sherry. What a beautiful question. So that one, I guess, is to both Ralph and to Peter. Spiritual books.
Sure. Merton is at the top of my list. Spirituality of Imperfections, another one. Scriptures, another one. I have a really cool book right here. It's a little religious, but this is what it's called. It's James Finley's another author I study. So there's lots of them. And quite frankly, they were brought to me by sponsors because I didn't know any. The first book that was given to me was by an author. Her name is Shakti Gawain, and she talks about creative visualization. And this is all new to me at the time, but thing as I look at it is I was willing to do it. I was in need of me to explore this, and I'm very grateful for lots and lots of folks out there who are on the spiritual walk who are not in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Thank you, Peter. Ralph, do you want to join in?
Really fast, yes. Peter and I share the same sponsor. My sponsor in his meditation has about 29 books that he uses, excerpts every morning. So, he always has some suggestions. I sometimes, Peter names some, sometimes I do Merton, sometimes I do my favorite guy is Richard Rohr, but other than, but curiously, Sherry, I still do some of the old tried and true. I do 24-hour, I walk, and right now my sponsees and I are going through a new pair of glasses. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bob, excited to hear from you. Come on in.
Bob.
I'm sorry, you got muted.
There you go.
Okay.
Bob, alcoholic, grateful to be here. Love you guys and glad I could make it today. As always, I have like 1,001 questions for Ralph, but I don't want to double dip, so I'll ask Peter this. And I saw Peter and Marion and Teresa in Tennessee the other week, and it seems like you guys are busy every weekend going somewhere. When do you know enough is enough, and do you ever say no? And with that, I'll listen. Thank you. Love you, all of you.
Great question.
I don't travel on Easter. For me, it's Holy Week, so I don't go anywhere. I mean, if there's a family event or God forbid a sickness, I'm gonna attend to that. But I've never got to a place where I've had enough. My job is a life of service, and this is part of it. I don't like airports. They're insane. And I don't like that part. But God gives me whatever is needed to get on a plane and go somewhere and go share the good news. Ralph said it best, got to go talk about it and tell someone. And I get to do that. I'm very, very grateful for it.
Thank you, Peter. Beautiful answer. Marilyn, my friend, come on in.
Good evening, family. My name is Marilyn. I am an alcoholic. I'm going to make this quick. I would ask Peter the question, but I just have to say to Ralph because he's here. Thank you. When I first got back, I had a couple of days and I heard you speak and you went to page 100 and you said, if I persist, I ran to that page and I wrote that down and I had practiced and hold on to that one day at a time. If I persist, because I've been through life changes, but that passage for me had been life changing. You answered all my questions. Peter, really quick, this is my first time hearing you. Amazingly, I can't believe it, but I'd love to hear you again. But you said something, the further I get away from me, the lighter I travel.
Mhm.
I wrote that down. Would you give me a little bit more on
Sure.
what that?
Yeah. Get away from the mind, get away from the thinking, get away from, well, those manifestations of self. A book talks about relieving of the bondage of self. I got to get away from that. And the further away I am from that, scripture calls it the death of self. I'm traveling lighter because I'm experiencing more of the spirit, if you will. More me, less God. More God, less me.
Thank you for a beautiful question, Marilyn. And thank you, Peter, for your answer. All right, my brother, come on in, Nash.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. Peter, I just want to say thank you for saying that living light and not heavy. That's something that I really loved when you said that, live light and not heavy. But my question is for
Nash, I'm so sorry.
that's okay. I would just say my question is for Ralph. Ralph, is there any way different than maybe saying a prayer, or is there any way to make it easier to trust God when you're trying to pass the message of his power to, say, your children or somebody that has not tapped into God? Is there another way that you can really just let them know that, hey, this creator, this power has got us, and everything is going to be okay?
Yes, through your action. Forget your words. What you do speaks so loud, I can't hear what you say. Words are cool. Don't get me wrong. And words are comforting and but when you say, is there something else? Usually, one of the reasons people don't hear my words is because my actions don't match. One of the reasons people don't hear my words is because my actions don't match. The reason my girls know that their dad is a changed man, is a God-fearing man, is a connected man, is because of what I do. Now, that's the same with my mom. Now, my mom is a praying lady and I see it, but she doesn't necessarily come doing it to me per se. I see it in her walk. So think about it for yourself. Think about what messages get to you. Think about who inspires you. Okay. Are they the talkers or the walkers?
Thank you, Ralph. And Nash, thank you for that question. And then my sister, Navon, it's so good to see you, baby. Come on in.
Okay. Hey, everybody, I'm Navon and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety birthday is 5/23/97. And hold on. Okay. My sobriety birthday is 5/23/97. So I have a question. It's both for Ralph as well as for Peter. First of all, Peter, thank you for your share. It really hit me where I needed to hear it. I never know what I need until I get what I need. So to you both. So Ralph is my sponsor. I get totally butt naked in front of Ralph. And I don't mean taking my clothes off. Seriously, right? He knows everything about me. I'm totally transparent. So my question is, Do you guys experience difficulty in being totally transparent with your sponsors?
Great question, Navon. I think that that is directed to both Ralph and Peter.
Yeah, to both you guys.
When I'm uncomfortable, my ego is showing up again. There's times where I'm talking to a sponsor, I still get nervous when I have to do a fifth step and be transparent. It's uncomfortable. So the question is yes. If I gotta, hey, here's what's going on in this head of mine, and but again, I look at what Ralph just said, actions. I do it, as uncomfortable as it might be for sometimes, because what's waits on the other side is freedom.
That's a great question, Navon, and I'm with Peter. It doesn't have anything to do with my sponsor. It has everything to do with me. By my nature, I'm introverted. I am interior. I am a on the low kind of guy, scandalous on the low in the when I was in life, and people wouldn't know it. I have this, ooh, he's a good, and so, but part of my DNA, and that's the thing, people, when you work with different personalities, it has nothing to do with power. And Navon, the reason I think that you are doing is not only because you're willing, because I do it anyway, but it doesn't come as natural to me as it does to you. Your personality lends itself to that. You are a if I say and you are joy, you are easy. But part of that, sometimes we take credit for certain things, like talking comes easy from that. That's I can't take credit for that. But talking one-on-one, it's hard for me. It's much, a lot of people get nervous, in front of a camera or a microphone. This is much easier for me than one-on-one.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Peter. And of course, thank you, Navon. Good to see you. And my friends, Kathy and Howard are here. Would you guys please come on in?
Yeah, my name is Howard Eber. I am an alcoholic. Kathy didn't realize I raised my hand. She's a little surprised. First of all, thank you. Everybody involved with this meeting, Ali, Teresa, Calvin, and we keep leaving out Alice. So please, Alice, thank you too. Okay, because I include you in the mechanism that keeps this thing running, and somehow you're like the redheaded orphan. So I thank you so much. I want to go back to something Peter said a minute ago, because it really started me thinking, and this is directed not only to Peter but to Ralph and even to you, Alice. How do you reconcile all of the time that you're spending doing that? To be a servant, to be giving back. How do you reconcile that with being a father, a grandfather, a husband? How do you balance that out? I am nowhere near as busy as you guys are. I don't travel like you do, but I am quite busy on a day-to-day basis giving back, and it is taking its toll on my family, on my marriage, on my relationships with my grandchildren. How do you make that work?
What a great question, Howard. Thank you so much. This again is to both Peter and Ralph. Which one of you guys want to go first?
I'll jump in. What I learned was as soon as I try to balance my life, it's already out of balance and I'm taking over. It's called self-reliance. God's great way of doing things is I surrender things to Him. I'm tired sometimes. I don't feel like I have the energy, but He allows me to have a job, a marriage. I get to spend time with my wife to get to CrossFit. I do CrossFit now. I must be completely nuts. And a lot of other things, and travel a whole bunch and attend a home group. And I don't try to balance or figure it out. I just saddle up and let God do what He's going to do, and somehow it just works out. I have a very full and abundant life. When I start to take over, then I start to figure out I should be doing more of this and I ought to be doing more of that. And when I'm there, I'm not really giving them quality time. I'm just showing up by face and I'm not there. And I'll make it up to them next week. And I'm running the show again. God is great. I'm not.
Thank you, Peter. Come on, Ralph.
Um, wow, over 37 years. And I think I started really getting very busy a lot of years ago. And I started out on the road. God, I've been probably doing that for close to 30 years, but in earnest, it's been a minute. But I, and you probably would have to ask some of the family before, because I'm so, maybe I'm not the best judge on how, if they were negatively affected, but I think that anybody close to me um, would say that the reason why they respect me for who I am is because of who I am. And my daughters who are remarkable, my youngest daughter is an actor, was an actor for me, and I never missed a performance. I don't know how God made a way. I missed, God made a way. And and I guess I think, Howard, that's all I can say is God made room. And there are times, because it looks glamorous, I'm 70. Right now, there are times I'm dragging through an airport at 1 a.m, coming from somewhere, but it beats dragging through the streets at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning with nowhere to go. It beats that. So even though this life sometimes seems hard is the wrong word, but I always look at it like it ain't harder.
What a great answer. Howard, thank you for a great question. And Peter and Ralph, thank you for a beautiful answer. And then my sister, come on in, baby. It's so good to see you.
I'm an alcoholic and my problem is so Nina. Hey, Alice. I too want to thank all of you who have been of service to this meeting. Oh my God, Ali, Granny, Auntie Alice, you guys, you're in the thick of it, and I'm so grateful for all that you show me, the fact that you show up every week is just everything to me. Thank you for your service. Okay, here we go. Where you at, Peter? Hi, Peter. I love you, Peter. And I told your wife that I was like, I love him. He said, I got a chance to sit behind her, but we were in Akron, and I was like, really, I love him. She looked at me and said, me too. How about that? So, Peter, I just love listening to you share. Every time you share, I just want to say to you, you feed me. You earnestly feed whatever it is that was hungry inside of me. I'm so grateful anytime I get a chance to experience and take in the message that you bring. As far as a question, I was going to say, turn the camera over so I can wave at Marilyn. That's what I was going to ask you. But anyways, mine was just a comment to you, Peter, and to my Uncle Ralph. I think he's my great. Okay, I'm gonna leave the greats alone. My great Uncle Ralph. I love you, Ralph. Listen, you opened up with heavy and light. You mentioned when we come into 11-step meetings that we come across with not so much the context, but we talk about the methods of the 11th step. We talk about the content within the 11th step. Now I'm gonna ask you something, Uncle Ralph. I know that I get these. My grant sponsor opened me up to what I receive when I'm earnestly doing this. And I've gotten tickled so many times from the message God has brought when he talks to me, when I know that he hears my prayer, because the suggestions are in the book, and I've read the prayer. Uncle Ralph, I read the prayer. Pete, I read the prayer, and then I prayed the prayer.
Nina, you gonna get me in trouble, girl. What's your question?
The question is, Uncle Ralph, what has God whispered to you and made just tickled you and let you know that he got you when you jump in them, trenches? How does he tell you, I got you, and it tickles you? You know he hears you.
Thank you, baby. Come on, Ralph.
Nina asked a leading question. In the law, that's called a leading question. She says, how does God talk to you and he tickles you? Which presupposes I'm tickled. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about the being tickled. You know what, Nina? I've put my hand in God's hand now for so long. Some people say God don't answer God always answers prayer. Whether or not I agree with what the answer is. Yes, not now, or I got something better for you. So God always answers prayer. That part, I don't trip off of. So when you say, how do I know? Because God is God and that's all he do.
Thank you, Ralph.
That's all he do.
Thank you, Ralph. And Nina, thank you for the question. Although I think you got me in trouble. I love you. Kevin, would you come on in for us? And let us know if your question is for Ralph or for Peter. Let's do that again.
My name's Kevin. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I just want to thank you guys. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Peter. I got a simple question. I got sober in '84, but then I got lost in life. I didn't start practicing these living steps 10 and 11 until May of 2020 with COVID. And I'm still having a lot of trouble with it. I've tried different things. Do you guys meditate first and then pray, or do you pray and meditate? I'm trying to start to meditate because I'm having a hard time focusing on prayer without other stuff coming into me. So which way do you guys do it? Thank you.
I start with prayer and then go into meditation. And there's a lot of information out there on Ralph was talking about fundamentals before, and some good basic fundamentals just to get into posture and work with breath. Maybe stay in there for a minute or two at the beginning and strengthen those meditation muscles, if you will. But there's something I've held on to for a long time, and it goes like this: in doing, we succeed. Just the attempt, God is well pleased that we're trying.
Beautiful answer, Peter. Ralph, do you want to join in?
Yeah, and since you said, Kevin, that you're having some problems with prayer, Peter said the fundamentals. Go on 86 to 88. Go in there when you look at it, and it says we can make some definite suggestions about prayer. So look at when it says at the end of the night at the nightly review. Sometimes I don't know that's prayers. It's like a guided meditation. When it says ask, that's the prayer, right? Don't trip off that. So at the end of the night, it'll say we ask what corrective measures and we ask his forgiveness. Then when you get ready to start meditation, it says before I start the meditation, when I start my day, I'm gonna ask God to put me in, to position me, take away this self-pity. You see what I'm saying? It's some stuff in there for me, the fundamentals. Then it'll be how you do. You know what I'm saying? Talk to God how you talk. That's prayer.
Yep.
See, you saying I'm having problems with prayer because I'm probably thinking it's got to be this religious. Practice. Just start practicing talking to God. That's prayer. That's prayer. And practice meditation. Practice, see if I can do 3 to 5 minutes. Just don't worry about doing it right. Don't worry about doing it right. And if you're having problems, Google guided meditation. That might help you at first, okay? Just suggestions. And talk to your sponsor. He may even have some better ones.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you for your gentleness with that. Okay, Mike, will you come on in?
Yeah, I'm Mike B. I'm grateful recovering alcoholic, sobriety date 9997. My question is for Peter. You know, I met you at the CETA convention and you took time, you were on the way to the airport and you took time to talk to me. And it really made a difference because I was 4 days off of chemo. And I just wanted to know, are you gonna be here near Louisville, Kentucky? Because that's where I came from to catch you at the convention, and we came there.
Yeah.
to-
I'm gonna
to-
be in Louisville, Kentucky at an Al-Anon conference. I'm the AA guy going in there that weekend. I'll put my number up here. I'll text me your number and I'll send you the information.
Okay, and I wanted to let you know that Burns Brady passed away last week.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
Saw that.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for the acknowledgement. Thank you. And then our last question of the evening, my sister Regina, please do come on in.
Thank you so much, Regina Alcoholic, and gratitude, Alice, Ali, Teresa, Calvin, all you angels that keep this thing alive and going. Thank you. Thank you. My question is both for Ralph and Peter. You know, as we continue on this sober journey and spiritual journey, you know, certainly I feel like there have been like 4 distinct chapters of my understanding and spiritual practices and connection with the Creator. I'm just going to use that word. And what I'd like to hear from each of you is, you know, what it's been like, what you've done or not done in the periods where it's really quiet. And I don't doubt that my connection is there, but I'm in another one of these growth phases and it's tough. It's just tough. So I would love to just hear what it's been like for you in the desert times. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina.
First off, a lot of us hit the desert, and Merton calls it the desert. And the tendency is to switch, stop, look for something that's exciting, because the mind gets really frustrated with silence. The mind doesn't like meditation. It likes excitement. It likes to have visions and sounds and all sorts of things going on. And when I hit the desert, what I have found out is if I continue to chop wood and carry water through that, no expectations. What gets in the way lots of times is I'm meditating, something should happen. And I'm going in there looking to orchestrate, trying to direct it, that something ought to happen by now. Where's my vision? Where's my insight? I need to let go of all of that and completely surrender that. And I go through, if it's a desert or a dark spot, chop wood, carry water, because what comes out is this. I'm even less, I'm less dependent upon outside things, much more dependent upon God. And he does a great job of pruning those things away from my total dependence and reliance upon God to the dark spots. If meditation was enlightening and I get visions all the time, the line would go around the block for people doing meditation. But it is discipline, but in that discipline, there's freedom. Do not, from my own experience, I've been there many times, do not get discouraged. We forget that God knows exactly where we are in the desert. As if, God, don't you see I'm in the desert? Absolutely. And sometimes he's put me there for a reason. But again, I want to reiterate, the mind gets really frustrated with sacred silence. It likes stuff happening.
Peter, thank you. Ralph?
Mhm. And Regina, I'm not sure in this case whether you're talking about the desert is stuff is losing its color, uh, losing the juice. I'm not as motivated. Or like for me, I was in a valley where I was being besieged, and I was in a low dark spot, and I differentiate the two. A low dark spot, I know to lean in. I know to get care. I know, but when it's just same old, I'm an alcoholic who did a lot of other stuff because I like stuff to the head right now. The most challenging thing, the most rewarding thing that I've ever done in my whole life is be with you guys for 37 plus years, because I'm a guy that likes shiny new. I like shiny new. I don't like routine. I don't like monotonous. I don't like settling in. I like shiny new. Get a new car. 4 weeks later, the new car smell wear off. Now it's just a car note. Get a new girl. That's my orientation. I'm infantile and I'm juvenile. And so this business of growing up in alcoholic. So again, I don't know when you say the desert, which are you in a dark space, or are you just in, you know what, now what? And Bill described that as the next frontier, emotional sobriety, because now I'm physically sober. Now what? And I take for granted this business of grace. The thing about grace and the thing about God is the anonymity associated. When I told you I looked at my kids, when we talk about God and we shout it to the rooftops, it's not because God needs it. God don't need, like a rapper needs to hear, oh, he's better than this, God don't thump his chest. He's not like a rapper. I need to be doing it for me. I need to do it for me, because things get stale and I lose sight of the fact of the blessing and the gift. And I take for granted, I've been sober every day. And I get so caught up in maintaining my blessings, I forget to maintain the relationship with the one that's giving them to me. Thus, this business of prayer. Why it's so important? Because guys like me get sidetracked. The grace of God, the graciousness of it, of grace, the anonymity of it, makes it very easy to fall in. Is this all? I'm 70. I start asking those questions of, is this it? So I find that life does this. Alice, I didn't mean to give a long answer, but sometimes I've been confronted with that. And I have found in my life, Regina, I'm the kind of guy that sometimes it feels like I'm either being beat up by life or I'm getting lit up by life. I want to be lit up. What lights me up? I don't do solitary. Now, a lot of people can, monks and people who incline toward that. I'm a guy that needs you guys. I'm a guy that came out of desperation, but I stay out of inspiration. I still get inspired. So I have a default setting for when I visit the desert and the valley. And my default setting is sponsorship. When our chapter, Working with Others, says nothing ensures immunity from drinking, and I think it might say nothing ensures immunity from boredom. Bill Wilson said, I was plagued by waves of depression and self-pity. I would go see somebody and be remarkably set on my feet. It's a design for living that works in rough going. He was saying it new. It's a design for living for an old guy like me. It's a design for living that works in rough going. When I go see about you, I'm not thinking about me. And curiously, I get to remap my DNA because you know how I get stale? I'm saying a long answer, I'm sorry. You know what gets me stale? Is I'm not having popping spiritual experiences. I had one lately. I have them popping spiritual experiences. My daughter graduated from law school, popping spiritual experience. Ooh, my daughter graduated, popping. And then but when I'm sponsoring, I get to have spiritual experiences with my sponsees too. So I don't have to wait on mine. You know what I'm saying? And I'd like to be just the spiritual guy, but I'm still the kid at Christmas. I need a Christmas present every now and then. So I watch you unwrap yours. Oh my God. Anyway, that's a design for living.
Thank you. Thank you. We had about 430 some people here this evening. Some of you guys have stayed. What a beautiful evening, and what a beautiful honoring of 4 years for Fellowship of the Spirit Toronto. Teresa, thank you.